My next guest is Husam Zomlot. He's the head of the Palestinian mission here in the UK, and he held that position in the United States until President Trump closed the mission during his first term. So, welcome back to the programme. I guess a couple of things. President Trump has claimed credit for this ceasefire, and even some Hamas political officials in various forums have said that, he concentrated people's minds. Now he's saying that he's not so sure. His envoy, Steve Witkoff, apparently plans to go to Gaza to make sure things are holding. What do you think?
I think it did show the last few days that when the U.S. has the leadership and the will to change things, it happens. It's as simple as that. And therefore, we want to continue seeing that leadership and that will, because what we have stopped was carnage, catastrophic in every sense, and we shall not see that again happening. So
you're confident about that?
Yes, we need to help him and our international partners to make sure the last 15 months will never happen again, to make sure that we attend to the unprecedented humanitarian crisis situation, catastrophe in Gaza. And, you know, I sat on this chair on the 7th of October, Christian, on the 7th of October, and I came here to your show to warn the world that Israel will wage a war against the Palestinian people. And look at the results. Look at the last 15 months and how do we learn the lessons. I mean, I was reading a UN report today that Israel has literally left Gaza with 50 million tons of rubbles, more than 250,000 of housing units gone, 1.8 million people are homeless, and I'm not even mentioning that all the numbers you have heard about those who are murdered, mostly women, children, have been under-reporting, under-counting. And therefore, moving straight from this point is where we learn the lesson, and we, the Palestinian people, are done explaining our situation. We're done explaining our situation. We need to move forward, and we need to use the momentum now and turn this tragedy into an opportunity.
So a few, even now, certainly amongst certain aspects of the Israeli coalition, they're casting doubts on the ability to move forward, as we just discussed, including saying, because as you know, Saudi Arabia has said that without progress or pledge on a Palestinian state, it won't normalize with Israel. And they are saying, well, we haven't promised that to the Saudis. It's not even in the offing necessarily now.
And that's the heart of the matter, Christian. The heart of the matter. All this that is happening is because Israel has no vision, has no plan, has no horizon for the future. The only horizon they have is what they're doing in the West Bank as we speak right now. And I'm sure you're following all the invasions
going to ask you about it.
And the murders, because that's what this fanatical government is after. It's an ideological war. It's not a security war. And by the way, speaking of security and ideology, the war on Gaza has nothing to do with security. It was an ideological war to protect their own occupation. And now we need to learn. We need to learn the lessons of the last few months.
So let me just ask you, because as you've heard, the Israeli officials have said they're going into around Jenin and other places to do what they did in Gaza. In other words, remove terrorism and its infrastructure. And there is a fact, and I think the PA has said it, and has said, Hamas is sending operatives to the West Bank with weapons, and where it's losing in Gaza, it's reinforcing in the West Bank. Is that a problem for the government there that you represent, the Palestinian Authority?
Of course it's a problem. And Israel is set on one thing, to undermine the Palestinian government and to undermine with it any possibility of a two-state solution. You have been following that the settlement expansion is mushrooming. You are seeing the settler terrorism only 2 nights ago, burning many villages around Ramallah. You are seeing the erection of new checkpoints all over the West Bank. Now you have almost 900 checkpoints and roadblocks all over the West Bank. This is unprecedented. They are suffocating any possibility.
And who do you think is going to be able to affect that? Because you just said when the US wants to, it can. Obviously, Trump has a big megaphone, a big, voice and influence. Do you think that he has told the Israeli government that, they need to get serious, like the Biden administration did on the West Bank? I mean, he's removed sanctions on even the violent settlers that the Biden administration had.
And I hope somebody told him that on the very same night that he was removing the sanctions, the settlers set fire on people's homes and cars and properties, and that these sanctions need to come back and be expanded. But I've heard him also, and we have experience. I met President Trump in the first time many times. I was the ambassador there. And I tell you, as a person, he does always argue that he wants to be the peacemaker, the unifier, the one who really brought finally peace to the Middle East. And we want the same. But now I think after all that experience, we have a fresh start and a fresh beginning to take a new look into this situation. It needs heavy lifting. It needs heavy lifting. And the heavy lifting has got to do with Netanyahu and this coalition in Israel. We need to build leverage.
And to an extent with Hamas, obviously. Hamas put on a show of force during the exchange. It's freaked everybody out in Israel. They've said, look, our war aims were not achieved. Hamas is still in charge. We wanted to make sure they're not in charge. And there they are with their bandanas and balaclavas and, weapons. Complete show of force there. What was the point of that, do you think? How helpful is that to you?
That's a cause of reflection in the part of Israel. Exactly. Because after 15 months of genocide, of mass murder and destruction, this is what they get.
Right, and according to the US, they're recruiting as many new as they have lost. But my point is, how does it help the situation going forward? How does it help you, who are not a Hamasnik?
Mm-hmm. Well, this isn't about Hamas. We've said it from day one. This is about the root cause, Christian. And so long as we think Hamas or all other Palestinian political grouping are the cause of the conflict, we will never get anywhere. They are the product of the conflict. And short of Israel realizing that, it will keep creating and repeating the same situation as it has been doing for 76 years. And look at the consequences now. By destroying most of Gaza, decimating Gaza, by having 70,000 families who have lost loved ones, having more than 17,000 Palestinian orphans, children. They have improved their security. They have really undermined Hamas or any other party's ability to recruit. To the contrary, all what they did is that they have sent us many steps away from a resolution. And this is exactly why we need to go back to the future. We've seen the past. The past is full of grievances. What happened to Gaza will have to be recorded in human conscience as the first ever live-streamed genocide. And when I heard President Biden only a couple of days ago, just before he left office, speaking about that conversation between him and Netanyahu, when he warned Netanyahu not to carpet bomb Gaza, and Netanyahu told him that you did that with Germany and with Japan, and Biden responded, that's why we had the UN. And still President Biden failed to prevent, let alone stop the genocide, is something that we need to think about. Mm-hmm. And it's something that we need to see if Israel, because Israel is going to repeat this. The only option Israel has right now is violence. They have no other option.
Right, but the only option you all have also, if you want to plan as espoused by people who can support you, is to have a reformed PA. I mean, basically, I assume you admit that they're ossified. I mean, it's just a catastrophe. It's a catastrophe, your leadership. And Hamas is busy telling the world in various forums that they, that they want a new elections, that they will continue to run the existing I think they said council will continue to run until in Gaza until there are elections and technocratic government and all the rest of it. They don't want anything other than Palestinians policing any security in this post-ceasefire environment. Where do you think the big Palestinian political program needs to start and end?
With the Palestinian people, start and end. It's the Palestinian people that have to decide and will decide on their own leaderships. The Palestinian people have their national institutions. They have a state recognized by the international community. That state is occupied. They have a government of that state, that is the PLO, the Palestine Liberation Organization.
Is it effective?
And they have, of course it is effective because it has the legitimacy. You have to separate between performance, effectiveness, the need for reform, all legitimate.
And it's too deeply unpopular.
And democratization among our own institutions and between legitimacy. The only legitimate umbrella of the Palestinian people representation is the PLO, and that is uncontested by any Palestinian. These institutions exist. We need to make sure that they are empowered and we need to make sure that the process of election is convened, and we need to remove Israel's veto over our democratic process. And there is a prerequisite for that, Christian. We cannot convene perfect democracy under the boots of the occupation. We've tried many times. We've tried in 2021, where the president issued an election decree, and then
Do you think he would do another one? Is now a time to have elections?
Well,
I mean, not right now, but in this next
now we
period.
need to attend to the wounds of our people.
Understand.
Now we have a catastrophe both in Gaza and the West Bank. But yes, we must convene elections in the earliest opportunity. And there was a presidential decree only 2 months ago about the process that if anything happens, the head of the PNC, the Palestine National Council, will take over for 90 days only. And the timeline is very important. In these 90 days, he or she shall convene national elections. So there is no other formula for Palestinian leadership except via the ballot box and the Palestinian people electing it. And much of this conversation about the Palestinian institutions reform is really, some of it is genuine, but some of it is a diversion because nobody wants to look at the root cause of all this. For many years, we would have the discussion about Yasser Arafat, remember? And besieging Yasser Arafat. For many years, when we fail to uproot the root cause, we go to the Palestinian situation and we start thinking, should we reform this? Should we do? Our issue is not technical, it's political. Israel has got to go. If not now, then I don't think.
You mean the occupation?
Yes, the Israeli occupation has got to be ended. That this is the time to unify the West Bank and Gaza and let the Palestinians lead their own future.
Husam Zomlot, representative of the Palestinians to the mission here. Thank you very much indeed. Now,